today, and I am unable to comment on ongoing litigation with DreamWorks that Beach's appearance is based on a troll doll.
It's good music.
Oh. You have to tell me which one later. I know we're all under NDA apparently, but you have to tell me later.
I'm gonna be in Trolls 3.
You gonna make a podcast to get yourself on? I hear that's a possibility.
That's how it works these days. That's how you get cast in anything.
How's it going, everybody? welcome to ChillPoint, the show where we talk about all the week's video game news and drink tea.
Yeah.
Yes. What kind of tea you got today, Paul?
I've got some. Oh, what's it called? It's called Snowflake, I think, actually.
Ooh.
It's from my. I've got one. My brother gave me like a tea of the month thing, or like a tea box thing, where I get like 4 teas every month. So this is.
Oh, that's
from
good.
That. It's like black tea with like coconut in it.
Okay.
The snow part, I guess. It's
Nice.
It's kind of tasty. This is actually my second. This is my second steep of it too, which is still pretty good. So that's a good sign. Good. Anyway, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. I hope you did your homework, by which I mean watching this episode. Episodes of CheckPoint.
So I've recently seen that there's some people who don't like the term homework, and I get it. Homework is nasty. It's nasty. Yeah. Not everyone wants to do homework. So I propose instead, because gamers love these. I can tell by the amount that they do them on the internet, that CheckPoint is a teaser trailer to ChillPoint. And therefore we are the main event.
I see. Everyone watched the teaser trailer.
Yes, did you watch the teaser? So yeah, you know what things to look out for?
Or maybe we're like the post-credit scene.
Shh, we're the main event, Paul.
I see someone saying that I'm all quiet again. Is that better?
You sound the same
I
volume to
mean,
us.
I'm assuming he's fiddling with knobs on their end, not our end.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm down.
I'm knob fiddle. No, wait.
Nobbin.
Nope.
He's knobbing.
Okay,
Nobbin.
cool. All right. Or do I sound fine and Beej and Heather are too loud? Is that the problem? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, Beej is always too loud. We know that's true.
How about instead of nobblin', to nobble something would be to turn the knob of it, right? So nobble.
I don't think that's better.
I'm like a Nobunaga.
Nobunaga, yeah, that's good.
From Rockfisher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
Nobusuru.
So yeah, this is the show where we talk about all the stuff that's in the episode of CheckPoint that you can go check out youtube.com/loadingreadyrun. And we give you some more background info and maybe talk about some stories that we didn't do. Also, I believe, did you catch the Easter egg, we'll call it, that I messed up and didn't replace the lower third for the last story in this week's episode?
Don't worry, if you didn't notice, we didn't either.
Well, Graham noticed later, and I didn't see any comments pointing it out. So if you comment now, we know that you saw this episode and not noticed on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Unless
the lack of people commenting on it in means either that people aren't reading the lower thirds, or that sometimes the lower thirds are like, yeah, that fits with the story.
Yeah,
regardless of what it says.
Yeah.
It's so good when those things line up.
Or there's something they're more interested in correcting us on. Something easier, like numbers or pronunciations.
Yeah, that's great. Mm-hmm.
Or
you just why didn't you cover this very nuanced point in your story that's supposed to be funny?
I believe the one I saw the most was, why do you not mention Steven Universe every time you talk about giant women?
Yeah.
That one happens a lot. I've been seeing that one since live.
I mean, that is a source of giant women.
Yep.
There are many of them in the Steven universe canon. All right. Well, let's talk about something else people are thirsty for. The Gatekeeper from Fire Emblem. The
Three Houses.
Yeah, Fire Emblem Three Houses. He's a guy from what I haven't played the game, but from what I can gather, he's a guy who stands by the front of your castle and has like 3 lines that he says at various times. He
says stuff. So there's a portion of the game. So if you're
Heather
familiar
has played the game.
with Fire Emblem, a lot of Fire Emblem is like a strategic board game part. But in Fire Emblem Three Houses, they have these school sessions where you run around the school and you can talk to people and do stuff with your relationships, and then teach kids skills or whatever for fighting later. And one of the characters you can talk to is the Gatekeeper, and he is always so positive. He's so happy, and he's got voiced lines, which is great, and he's just really there, except for that one point in the story where he's not, and you'll all know what that is if you've played.
But he says more than one thing, because like people in chat are like, oh, he says greetings, professor, nothing to report, but that's not true.
It's his most common line, but he says other things.
Yeah, he lets you know if things have been stolen or something has gone wrong or whatever. Yeah, you know, he's there to kind of give you.
He talks about what's going on, so he's kind of like, where are you in the story right now?
But also, he's not your wingman. He's not the one who says, hey, so here's how the relationship status between you and the 10 other students are going. Here's your number of hearts. No, he's just flavor.
He's just flavor. He doesn't get a name. But he doesn't need a name.
He's just gatekeeper.
He doesn't need a name to capture our hearts.
You know, you talk to him every day and never learn his name.
Yep.
So clearly, let's try to romance him.
Very happy to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I like Graham calls him piece of castle furniture.
Yeah.
But there's I used a piece of fan art as a shoulder graphic for this story. As you might imagine, there is a lot of fan art of varying degrees of safe for workedness. I will say that the fan art, it was actually surprisingly difficult to find fan art that wasn't like all the sources, all the, like the fan art that I found was like from some random Pinterest page, and so like I wanted to actually get something that I could source and find out who it was.
Yeah.
But the art that I wanted to use was like I saw it it was linked to on a Pinterest thing. Unfortunately, the place where it showed up originally apparently was from somebody's Twitter account, which has since been banned.
Huh.
But I'd like to maybe because they went a little farther in what they were depicting the Gatekeeper doing. I don't know, but whatever the case. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to use that piece, but I was pretty happy with the romantic one they used there, and now he gets to be a full-fledged person that you can find in the box or whatever in
Fire Emblem Heroes. So
yeah,
that's the mobile game with kind of a gacha thing.
Yeah, so he's one of the gems? One of the special things one of the special characters that you can possibly get. So yay
it would
for
have
him.
Been fun as a
maybe he'll get a name.
DLC, piece of DLC for Three Houses. That would have been fun.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll give him a name. It can be like
Gabe Keever.
I like Gabe. Or Gabe. I like just Gabe Keeper.
Yeah, Gabe Keeper. God, that'd have been good.
Yeah.
It's funny, Paul, because it's like you were saying all that stuff, and I was listening. I promise. But at the same time, I'm like, what would you give him as a name for real? So the moment you said that, I had one ready to go.
You say that, but I just picture a background where his parents named him Gatekeeper because they had expectations, and he's been fulfilling them.
Yeah, that's good.
It's like, yes, one day, my son, one day you will stand in front of the gate. You will not go farther than that. Nobody will learn your name, but I have high hopes for you. That's true. Maybe it is a surname. Maybe he's like, Brian Gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Now,
He comes from a long line of gatekeepers.
Graham wrote the story, which makes it the only Nintendo somewhat related story in the piece. So I guess he stole that from you.
It's fine.
I like, we have the in the Google Doc that we use to write our stories and plan them and stuff. There's little comments and notes that people can leave, and I'm assuming this was Beige correcting that there are dozens of Marths. So the problem is that both Graham and Beige often are logged in as like loading ready run, as like the main loading ready run account, and so we end up with these comment threads in sometimes where it's like, loading ready run says, is this the right thing to say? Loading ready run says, yes, I think that is the right thing to say. Loading ready run says, that's a good idea, loading ready run, I'll do that, loading ready run.
Now in this case, it was me leaving 3 separate comments.
Oh, that was you talking to yourself. Okay.
But it looked like a conversation, which is what made it so funny. So
Beach used to play Fire Emblem Heroes quite a bit. So when you say things like, oh, there's like dozens of Marths, it's like it's a gacha game, so it's like Marth in a different outfit, a seasonal thing or whatever. But then while he was reading the stories, he was like, wait, didn't you tell me there was one who pretends to be Marth? And I'm like, oh yeah, Lucina.
Yeah.
Fire Emblem Awakening.
Wait.
Well, I mean, I knew that because I have that Marth. I have the Marth that is actually Lucina, but it's named as Marth Enigmatic Hero, and it's Lucina with her hair tied back. So and then like this mask on, and it's like you're supposed to believe that that's Marth from Mystery of the Emblem or Shadow Dragon and the whatever.
Everyone's like
Shadow Dragon and the 40 Thieves, but
so it's like everyone's like, your hair is tied back, you must be Marth. Like she
wore a mask. That's what she told them.
Well, the thing is like she shows up because these can all take places in different worlds anyway. And so when she shows up in Awakenings, she's actually just coming from the future. Yeah. So when she says, I'm Marth, and they're like, okay, we don't really know who Marth is, right?
No, they do, because Marth is like a legendary person at that point, which is why they don't believe she's Marth.
Okay.
Because that's weird.
Because it's like, well, but it's just odd, because it's like, I know that like Thracia 776 does not take place. That's one of the Fire Emblem games, and it's like that doesn't take place on the same world that other Fire Emblems take place on. So it's kind of like all of these Fire Emblems could be taking place in different places.
They could be, and some of them don't.
Some of them don't.
Some of them interact. Some of them are history. Some of them are their own thing.
I feel like I feel like I've inadvertently opened up a can of worms on here.
So did I, Paul. By playing this game, I didn't expect that to happen.
I was not expecting Fire Emblems to be that complicated.
Fire Emblem Heroes is like a person who summons heroes from other lands and now puts them in some sort of weird bubble.
So, I do like the idea that in the context of Fire Emblem Heroes, Marth and Marth wearing a different outfit are two different people.
Essentially, yeah.
In context of Heroes, yeah.
There are 2 different Marths, and there are 5.
But how do I know who to shoot?
There are 5 Marths. 4 of them are the same Marth wearing a different outfit, and one Marth is a completely different person, whose name isn't really Marth, but still comes up as a Marth. And if you go look at that Marth on the wiki, it says, "Do you mean Lucina?" And I'm like,
wow.
Like, it gives the whole game away.
Good job, Wiki. Way to...
It doesn't help the fact that Lucina literally is wearing the same outfit she does normally when she's dressed up as Marth.
Yeah.
So it's like there's no real challenge to try to figure out what's going on.
When she shows up, she puts on a mask.
Yeah, she just puts on a mask and ties her hair back, and she's a
like,
blue-haired sword user.
My name is Marth. And they're like, okay, that seems weird.
She carries the falchion, right? Like, she has the same...
That's Crump's sword.
But it's also Marth's sword.
But Marth doesn't wear a mask, right?
No.
So what... You know what? I don't care.
If I put a mask on and said, "I'm Paul from the future," people might be like, "I don't know about. I'll put on some weight. Why do you shave?"
There's a great I think it's Tom Ska, so YouTube creator, but he did a great future thing where he's like, "I'm you from the future." He's like, "Oh man, I got fat." Like a week in the future.
Wow.
Come on, man.
Wow.
Anyway.
Right.
All right. Let's talk about Call of Duty. We did a couple stories on them. And so this first one, I thought this was kind of interesting. So this is talking about the... one of the new characters in Call of Duty is called Mara, she's some sort of badass soldier type person.
Yep.
And this guy has a lawsuit with Activision that says that she's copying his original intellectual property, and so that's one of these interesting stories because it's like. Badass soldier lady is not really something you can like copyright. Like, it's like
not generally,
because it's like, come on, man. It's like, a lady with short hair holding a gun. Like, it's not that, like, it doesn't look that unique and amazing. But then as the story unfolds, it's like, no. They literally got the same model to model for this 3D thing as this guy got to shoot
the photographs.
Photographs. They got the same model and the same makeup artist, and told the makeup artist to do the model's hair and makeup the same way that they did in the picture. Apparently using these photos as like reference.
And using the same hair extension? What was that?
Even using the same like hair, like the same wig and stuff too.
I wish to play shithead's advocate here, because this is what, of course, the complaint says, right? Mm-hmm. Clayton Halligan.
That is the complaint.
Yeah,
yes.
Clayton Halligan has made a complaint, and as backup information has said this is what's happened. The lawyers have written the thing is that they employed the same model, Alex Zedra. So, okay, good start. Because they want to get pictures of Alex to be like, we want to take pictures of you and design after your look. Okay, cool. We hired the same makeup professional. And that they instructed the makeup professional to style her hair the same way and use the same hairpiece extension. But my take on it is that they went, I'm going to guess that what happened is they went and they found the model and said, hey, we want you to model for this new character that we're coming up with. And so she's like, okay, cool. I have a makeup professional that I use to do all my makeup and hair and stuff like that. She's going to be part of the package. Okay. So then she comes along. It's like, we want you to look like this, and holds up a photograph. And the makeup professional's like, oh, I remember that. I have all the stuff I need for that. I'll just make it all up. And it's like, I bet you that the people, it's more likely that they didn't actually be that finely detailed. They just probably held up a photograph and said, we want you to look like this again because it looked awesome. But we want to be able to like get you from all like 3D sides or whatever. So I know the alleged stuff is this, but I'm sure that Activision or Infinity Ward or whoever it was that actually said, hey, this, are going to argue, we didn't do all that. You can't even prove that we did all that.
Wait. So first, I want to clarify. All the things we've said are what's written in the complaint. So these are allegedly what he is saying happened.
Yeah.
The story that you read this off of, I'm assuming, doesn't exactly have. Was this Activision?
Activision did not respond to comments.
Neither of them have made public things, probably because it's under litigation.
So,
lawsuit. Yeah.
So the story really is just these two characters look very similar.
Yeah.
And this person is angry and has filed a lawsuit.
Yeah, because he feels he's been ripped off.
And has a lot more evidence there's a lot more evidence than just this character looks similar to my character, which is sort of what the which is why this is more interesting than other cases.
Well, and the funnier thing too is that I didn't read the complaint, Paul did, and you found like what looks like the smoking gun, which is that.
Yeah, there appears to be an image. Now, it's not clear whether this image was actually used for promotional material or whether it was like a concept for promotional material. But whatever the case, there is an image that was set up as a promotional thing for this character that is literally a Photoshop of one of this guy's photos. Like it's clearly the same actual photo with some color replacement done on it. Mm-hmm. Like all the fabric is rumpled in exactly the same way and all this kind of stuff. So that's very damning. Depending on whether that actually especially if that was actually like a public thing or not. Obviously this will all get run out through courts and stuff. But it's also just like so weird that because she doesn't even look that like interesting. She's just like a very generic. She's a very generic, short-haired, badass soldier lady. Like you could have used like almost any character from a video game in the last like 10 years as a sort of example to go on. It just like literally lots of games that Activision themselves have made.
Because when I said she looks like Quiet, but Quiet with like a shirt on for once, and I was just like, practically, and I know people will be like, oh, her hair's not part of the same way. I'm like, but they are practically the same person, right? And I just kind of felt like nothing new has been done here. So why did you feel a need to go looking and be like, I found something that this could be a good inspiration for a character that we want to do for our game. Why would you need to go like doing that is weird, especially to be like, oh, we're going to use that photograph and we're going to somehow use it to market the because it's like, how else does Clayton Haugen, how else does he find out that this was used in a marketing context if it wasn't in some way made public?
Right, unless there's like some sort of leak or something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not information we'll likely know, because again, that's stuff that has to go through the courts and whatnot.
Yeah. And this will probably end in a settlement.
It will end, and we will likely not hear how it ends.
Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of the time settlements like this have a like don't talk about it clause.
Yeah, even if we do, this is a thing that you might not even hear about for like 2 or 3 years, depending on how long it takes.
Yeah.
And
we did get to plug an old sketch though. That was
good.
Yeah. And then other Call of Duty news. Apparently, they're having a lot of problems with cheaters, which isn't surprising necessarily, except that the people are so brazen about it. Like I used an image for the shoulder graphic that was literally me searching for like Call of Duty Warzone hack in YouTube, and like I just was able to screenshot a ton of results that are like how to set up a hack, how to not pay for things in Call of Duty Warzone, how to kill all these people in Call of Duty Warzone, how to see through walls in Warzone. Like they're just YouTube videos that are easily available and watchable.
Here's how to cheat.
Yeah. And the thing is, and because it's quite a popular game, and there's quite a few sort of high profile streamers that are playing it. And so a lot of the solution at the moment is play it on console and turn off crossplay, which obviously is not a like great solution from Activision's point of view. Like play it on console and turn off like a feature we spent a lot of effort to make work. Mm-hmm. But yeah. So I mean, anti-cheat stuff is always quite fascinating to me because it's like it's this back and forth between the developers and the people
and the cheaters
and making the cheating stuff. But they're saying like there's also this problem where there's also this back and forth between the developers and the people who own the game too, right? Because fundamentally, anti-cheating stuff is going to like slow down the game. It's going to cause extra processor overhead, extra stuff to the game that players don't like. And also, fundamentally, your anti-cheating software has to run on, on your customer's computer. And so you are, it's one of the only situations where there's sort of legitimate reasons to sort of force somebody to be running software on their computer that they don't want to run on their computer.
Yeah. and when you're looking at from the business perspective of operating a game like this, they're like, okay, if we do this, if we put anti-cheat software on there and it slows down the game and it slows down the gameplay, but it gets rid of the cheaters, those are still people who are possibly paying some sort of money to actually continue to play this game, because they like cheating and they want to continue to cheat in this game. So if you get rid of them, that's a potential revenue stream that's cut. So you're like, okay, well, can we rely upon the people who aren't cheating to keep going? It's like, maybe you can. But then the other question on top of that is, if it makes the game slow enough that a lot of people are or not perform in a way that that more people are upset about, that they're like, well, damn, now the game is harder to play, even if there's no cheating. I'm going to leave this game and go play like Apex Legends or something like that. Have you lost your revenue stream from more people? Because from the business perspective, you want to be able to continue to make money on this game until it's no longer viable. So maybe it's like, don't install the anti-cheat software, just keep kind of like playing whack-a-mole everywhere you're going to do that, because in about 4 or 5 years, this game is going to be done anyway, and we'll have moved on to another game, and our revenue is going to start drying up for it as it is. So can we live with the terrible situation for 4 or 5 years until we've kind of wrung this sucker dry? That's the mercenary idea, right?
But it's like, I've certainly heard anecdotally from both the chat and from other places that when a game gets into a state where there are so many cheaters and so many people using hacked aimbots or whatever, it can completely destroy the community for the game. And especially for a game that's like a battle royale type game or something where you need a minimum number of people to sort of make the game. You need a sort of critical mass to make the game work and to make enough people be there for matchmaking and that kind of stuff. It really can be. They talk about like when the occasional time when lawsuits are actually, like, when there's actually an entity that exists that a company can sue in order to be, usually often hacks are just sort of random people who do them, but sometimes when there's actually like a company that's creating the hack and selling it, they actually are an entity that can be sued, and then Activision or whoever can be like, you've caused not just people cheating, but the fact that people are cheating destroys the community, which actually has a massive effect on the income potential of the game. So there's all these damages that they can cite.
Yeah. If you were going with the idea of, well, let's just let the cheaters keep going because we don't want to get rid of them because of the revenue stream, and it'll be fine because our game will last its 4 years before we move on to another thing, but you destroy your community in the process, then Call of Duty is not going to be a game that you want to play later.
Yeah.
Or Activision at all, because you'll just be like, well, they allow cheaters.
Yeah, they don't give a crap about us
if I don't play.
Yeah.
So I'll go find something else, because there are other companies that make other games.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you drop off playing Call of Duty because there's so many cheaters and the next version of Call of Duty comes out, you're probably not going to be that inclined to jump on the new thing because it'll have the same problem.
Yeah. And even if if that problem just keeps repeating every time, eventually you're going to stop.
Yeah.
And speaking of Stadia, wait.
Speaking of dying,
well, Maricat brought up that.
Yeah, I was going to say,
everyone moves to the Stadia model.
I was like, weren't we talking about Stadia? No, I read that in the chat. But yes, Stadia, which I guess is something that you could actually use. I mean, in terms of avoiding problems with cheaters. But Stadia is not dead, but they are closing down their in-house development studio, which didn't actually make anything yet.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not a huge loss, except that they apparently hired a bunch of really talented people for it. So I guess those people are just...
You can always tell when
again.
a studio closes and that studio had a lot of amazing people, because my Twitter timeline just becomes full of people being like, hey, other studio is hiring. Hey, people who got let go, other studio is hiring. Please come apply.
It's kind of like, to see this happen, it definitely feels like, oh, we've the writing on the wall, right? That it's like Stadia's doomed. And it's like, well, not necessarily. Like, Stadia's sense of, we're going to make our own internal game development studio makes sense if they're like, we want to be sure there's one big thing that can drive everybody to play on our platform. Everybody does that, where you have console exclusives everywhere. So it's like, okay, I can see them wanting to do the same thing, but really, if you're trying to make a truly agnostic platform that anybody can get their game onto, any publisher can have their game on, it makes a little more sense to not have internal competition for that, because you want to try to drive lots of people to be like, oh, we'll enable this. Because it's the Netflix model, right? Where it's like, Netflix is like, we'll buy from anybody. We'll put whatever up on Netflix. We just want to get more and more content onto Netflix as much as we possibly can. And then as studios started being like, well, we can start doing this ourselves, Netflix was like, we are going to form our own studio to make our own content. And now if I go to Netflix, there's dozens and dozens of Netflix films and Netflix series, because they saw the writing on the wall that they're like, oh shit, everybody can move away from our system and start doing their own thing. I don't think big video game publishers are in a space where they're going to start doing cloud gaming yet. And Stadia and GeForce Now and a few of those other groups are like, we should be attracting a lot of them to come to us. If they have a good experience with us, there'll be no reason for them to jump. That's Major League Baseball's play in streaming, where Major League Baseball did such a good job of making a streaming app and a streaming service that they immediately turned around and started selling it to other sports agencies.
Is Stadia a publisher, though, or are they just a platform?
Just a platform, I think. They don't really count as a publisher.
So that means they need to get publishers and things to be on their side. Like, an internal game studio shutting down just says to me that they thought they should have one and get exclusives and try and do that thing. They only had it for however long they had that for, and either those projects weren't getting off the ground fast enough, or they ended up with enough games on their platform that they were like, we don't really need to do that, so we're not going to do that, and we're going to cut costs that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's the spin. The positive spin on this is we have so many games from third-party publishers that we don't need to make internal things anymore.
Yeah.
Which is probably not true. If I haven't kept super close eye on what games are available on Stadia, but I haven't seen a lot of things around.
Yeah. I mean, 3 years for a game studio, you'd think they would have made something, at least something small.
Well, there would have been an announcement of something they would have made.
Yeah.
I would have really liked to see, basically sort of the Nintendo model where, because Stadia has some cool features that can't be, that are unique to Stadia, and are unique to their streaming thing,
technology,
right? Stuff with because they've got these using massive back-end servers for things. There was all this cool stuff about, like, you could be watching somebody streaming on YouTube and then bam, you're playing with them, right? Like, there was integration between YouTube gaming and Stadia and all this stuff. And to me, an internal game studio is the perfect place to sort of show that up, like in the same way as Nintendo, like when Nintendo comes out with the Switch or the Wii or whatever, their first party games are the ones that are sort of designed to show people how the stuff is supposed to be used.
Indeed, yeah.
And you need that. You need somebody to sort of
act as a showcase.
Yeah, to give publishers and developers just to sort of show what the cool things you can do with this technology is. Whereas, as far as I know, Stadia's there might be one or two games that have some integration stuff, but like Stadia is basically just at the streaming video games section. None of their cool new tech that they were sort of talking about has actually been integrated into games.
Right.
I think maybe one or two, but so that would have been neat if they had come out with like something really like, you know, some sort of equivalent of like, especially it could have been like something fairly light, like you know, Among Us or Fall Guys or something like some sort of like fun, you know, pretty not like super deep, but a super fun kind of party game thing.
Didn't they have like a Tetris or something?
That you could then be joining in with everybody on like YouTube Gaming or something like.
Right.
I feel like there was a real opportunity there.
It was a Pac-Man game, wasn't it?
Yeah, Pac-Man Championship Edition. Or
yeah,
something?
Wasn't that supposed to be a Stadia exclusive? That
I don't know.
That was like a multiplayer Pac-Man thing. I thought we did a story on that.
There was like Orcs Must Die. I think was like a Stadia. The new Orcs Must Die was a Stadia exclusive.
Yeah, I mean the problem with Stadia is the perception of Google. It's the idea that Google constantly brings out new stuff, and it's stuff that people even like, and then what feels like maybe a year later, that stuff dies immediately and they take it away.
Or is transformed in such a way that it's completely unrecognizable.
Yeah, it's not the thing that people wanted anymore.
Yeah.
And it also feels like if Google doesn't like take off right away with a thing, then they axe it. So if you have a product that's not taking off because people are waiting to see if it's still sticking around.
Yeah.
There's like this weird cycle that's
they've essentially done this to themselves, right? Is that the more savvy people who have observed Google for years know that unless something actually takes off, it has to take off in the consumer realm to a point where people who don't give a shit about Google one way or the other are like, I'm buying this thing. I'm buying Nest thermometers and Google Home shit to put in my house.
And in this case, you're also having to fight the idea of with a lot of consumers who are still fighting over the idea of like, we haven't gone fully digital with all our gaming content yet, and they're still kind of on a physical thing as well.
So I mean, the game streaming thing is still, not the most reliable tech anyway.
Not everybody has the internet they need for that as well. Like it's just it's one of those things where there's a lot working against them.
Yeah.
And because I personally don't believe the moment Stadia released, everybody was like, well, we all know that's going to die in a year. I don't want to put money into it. I assume it's going to go away. Like, if not now, like within another year. How long before it just dies and they take it away?
Actually, knowing Google, the Google's thing, they're what they do. They not only cancel stuff, but what they'll do is come out with something else called like Google Game Box or something.
Yeah.
That will have some of the functionality of Stadia, but not all of it, but then also have other things that it can do. And then people will be like, so which of the two products are we supposed to use? Yeah. And then eventually they'll be like, well, no one was using Stadia, so we're going to drop that. And we're like, because you had all these we didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And somehow it's part of Gmail.
Google does that all the time with YouTube. It's like every time I turn around, it's like, oh, that feature that you were using, no one was using it. We're just cutting that. And like, I was using that. It was actually really important.
And I think that when you think about something like that too, it's like, if it comes down to, hey, what do you want to have as a streaming service? Do you want to go with Google, which is this company that is kind of the everything? Like its fingers are in everything and it does all sorts of stuff. Or do you pick a company like NVIDIA, where their focus has been, pushing technology, like pushing GPUs, and they know what pushes GPUs, which is games. I mean, that's cryptocurrency as well, but I mean, games is the thing that's kind of been like their market. NVIDIA's interest in making all sorts of stuff that's like, we're a hardware manufacturer, we're concentrating on technology, we're focusing on performance, and that's something that we are very much aligned with people who play games, and so therefore we're going to make a gaming service. When you make that kind of argument, and I'm not saying go to either of them, because I don't care either way, but when I think about it, I'm like, I would start to think about the gaming company being the one to go with. Like if Valve was doing something like this, I'd be like, okay, I understand, because Valve's like bread and butter, their core competency, their whatever about them is built around gaming. I can trust that what they're going to try to do is build a gaming service and not just try to build a service based on, that they just happen to have a shit ton of servers all around the world.
Yeah. So the focus is always Google's problem.
Yeah, but that's the thing Google's always going to have to fight whenever they bring up a new thing, even if if they're putting a lot of money into it, because they've definitely advertised Stadia. They had a giant booth at whatever convention I managed to go to last time. That was allowed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's just kind of like, no, I don't believe you.
Yeah. And I would find it hard to believe that it's going to be something that they're going to want to stick with in the long term, unless they can find a way to make advertising funds off of it, build great profiles off of it that allow them to learn more about individual people and advertise to them, and integrate that into a bunch of other products that they have. And as you said, Paul, we haven't seen any of that happen yet. And I think the people who are waiting for that kind of stuff to happen are still waiting for that, which means they're not going to get the customers they need. But who knows? That could flop. I just don't like the idea. They're the one where it's like you pay to belong to the service, then you buy the games as well, right? That's Stadia.
I believe so.
Yeah. I think that's really caught in people's.
That's also a really hard thing to like. The Microsoft Game Pass thing feels like I'm just paying for Netflix.
Yeah.
Whatever. So that seems to go down a lot easier.
Heather and I talked the other day, and I'm like, the thing that could probably help Stadia in that regard is if they were like, the free tier that gets you into Stadia. Here's couple dozen games, good games, all-time great games that are just available to play for free whenever you want, however you want. All you had to do to sign up is email address and a password, and you're done. You can play this small group of fun multiplayer games with your friends. Your bronze tier, now you're paying like $10 a month or something like that. Here's a bunch of games that we carry on the service. Maybe it's the whole library, but they're 6 months old. And then you go up in tiers, and it's like you get to your gold tier, and it's like your premium plus tier, whatever you want to call it. It's like $30 a month, $40 a month. You can have access to every game on the service, and they're playable right now, today, unlimited amount of time. Because then you get people who are like signing up for Stadia Premium Plus, and they want to play with a bunch of their friends, and two of their friends are stuck on like the free thing, and they're like, you're going to have to like jump up for at least a month to do this, hoping that you're going to drag them with you to be like, come on, dude, it's only $40 for the month, and we're going to get to play Valorant or whatever, or PUBG or whatever the hell, and you drag them into the higher services by pressure from the friends. That's how you get people to come into that service.
Your tiered system is still pay money, get access to all the games, not pay money and have to pay for your games.
Exactly.
Which I don't think they need the tiered service to do that then.
Yeah, and I mean, there already are like there's Xbox
GeForce Now, I think, is kind of this
and there's various sort of game subscription services out there already of varying degrees of success. To be honest, I think a lot of the issues are around like licensing and that kind of stuff too. So
yeah,
it's a tough one. But anyway, if I'm always curious. I've never actually tried it. If you are a big Stadia fan, I'd be curious to know how it is for you there at home. But
you could ask.
Heard a lot of positive things.
You could ask Ben now, because I believe that one of the horror games they played was a Stadia exclusive recently. Really? Yeah, we Guilt.
Oh, was Guilt game Stadia? Oh,
yeah, I believe so. I believe that was a Stadia one. It's our first Stadia game on the streams. Because I think most of the other ones we've been able to get on other things.
Also, it's pretty hard to compete with Xbox Game Pass. At least I'm currently on Xbox Game.
Yeah.
I'm currently on Xbox Game Pass. I think I got like 3 months for $1.
Oh yeah, because they had like specials running to get people.
Yeah. So it's
jump
like
on. Yeah,
hard to compete with that.
Yeah.
So that's Stadia. And then there's also this thing about Destruction All Stars, which I saw Penny Arcade also had a comic about this week, because it is pretty funny that, especially since a lot of people didn't actually know that there was a microphone and a speaker
on the controller.
In the controller. Like, they weren't advertising that like super big. And so yeah, your controller just starts yelling and talking to you.
PlayStation 5 controller? Yeah, because their big thing was the triggers having like tension on them or something. It was like the only feature I ever heard people talk about.
I guess, I don't know. To be honest,
I was just like, a controller, it's a thing you play. It's got some buttons on it.
I mean, I liked when they moved to like the analog shoulder sticks. That was a cool like change. The analog shoulder triggers, and but like I feel like innovation in the controller space hasn't. I mean, other than like Nintendo, but they're doing totally different weird things.
It's true. I haven't been able to touch a PS5 controller yet, but they. I'm not sure I like them being white.
Gonna pick up a lot
off the top.
Hand grease.
White shows off dirt.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've got a microphone and a speaker on them, and that's problematic for this specific game, huh?
Yeah, especially since you can't like turn it off globally. Like, you have to turn it off each time you go into the lobby. Like, so after every, like, when you go back in the lobby after every game, you have to turn it off again, which is just like, ugh. Apparently the game's pretty good, but you just have to make your controller not yell at you.
It's some sort of beat 'em up thing. I have not actually heard of Destruction All-Stars personally, but I'm assuming it's a fighting game.
I believe so. Yes. Oh no, it's a car. It's like a like Twisted Metal style, like car destruction derby.
Oh, okay.
Kind of game. Yeah. And then the whole weird conversation about the height of certain characters in Resident Evil Village.
Yes.
Specifically, a lady Dimitrescu
is apparently 9 foot 6 inches in heels and a hat.
Yes.
I've enjoyed many of the memes going around about how we can all be that tall if we wear heels and hats.
It's
the
true.
right kind of hat.
With a really big,
because some
with a big
some
tall
of the hats
hat.
I've seen people draw have been like a hat that stays here, the brim just goes up like that, and I'm like, yeah, that seems like something someone might design.
I'm eagerly awaiting the cosplay at some point because I don't know how they're going to do that.
I mean, I've seen some pretty amazing like Space Marine cosplay with the full like with wearing like stilts and stuff. So yeah, you can totally do it. You just can't go. She must have a lot of trouble just like going through doorways and stuff.
Yeah.
Doorways aren't really designed for a person of that size, at least not within our society. But I imagine.
I mean, houses aren't they? We had 8-foot ceilings in our house. She'd be constantly bent over.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why she probably lives somewhere very fancy.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a like behind the scenes thing one time of this new. There's some new basketball stadium put in, and there was like in the locker room, like all the shower heads were like 8 feet high. Because it's all these basketball players are so used to having the shower like hit them in the chest.
Yeah. I imagine that has to be a real weird moment for them where it's like they come out of like high school where then they're already like almost 7 feet tall and they're like showering at home and stuff, like 18, 19 years old and doing all that. And it's like you get picked up by the NBA and now you're getting showered and it's like, oh, what's all this water hitting me in the face? Like, that's not how you shower.
My face, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what are some other stories we talk about here. Do you like Mario Galaxy and Minecraft? Well, now you can play them both at the same time.
Great. I'm gonna say yes, just for Paul.
Yeah. people have remade 86 stars worth of Mario Galaxy in Minecraft, which is a large portion of the game.
I think so. I don't actually remember how many stars are in that game.
Me neither.
I'm assuming like maybe 120.
That sounds sure. Let's just.
That
go
sounds
with
like a number they would
there's
use.
like 900
the map.
things to
The
find
map
in
contains
Galaxies.
all of the missions except the prankster comets and the Luigi missions.
Yeah.
Another game, Axing Out Luigi.
Yeah.
Yep.
It obviously does not play like Galaxy. Like it's not fully like planets with gravity that you run around on and stuff like that. It's basically let's flatten these out and make
That would be really impressive in Minecraft.
yeah flat planets. So there's no gravity, whatever. But the from what you can tell from looking at the pictures, there's like the leap points where you would because you would jump off one planet to go to another planet. That seems to be big arcs of some sort of traveling. It looked like there's like weird stars or stardust in the air or whatever. It looks like you're supposed to just kind of like follow those to the next area. It's interesting.
You could probably there's probably a Minecraft mod that'll mess around with gravity, so you could walk around things. If you are a fan of Mass Effect, you probably know that there's the Mass Effect reboot or remake is coming out that people are very excited about and are going to be. It's supposed to look really good and super nostalgic for everybody. But there's an interesting article on Game Informer where they were talking about one of the things that people were kind of sad about was that it's not going to have the multiplayer aspect of it, which some people are sad about. Some people are like, it's okay, because the multiplayer aspect was apparently not great in a lot of ways.
A lot of people play those games single player too, so for them, I'm sure it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and actually, when it first came out, there was a bunch of stuff that you had to play the multiplayer for. A bunch of the whatever galactic readiness rating that you had at the end of the game, you had to play. You had to play the multiplayer for, which I think they fixed with a patch later on.
That's good.
But anyway, so the new one is not going to have multiplayer. And when you think, and so people are sad about that. And the answer is basically it will require a whole you'd have to do all a whole new networking code, all new servers, all this kind of stuff. And they're like, how much time this would take versus how many people will actually enjoy it and care about it.
Yeah,
it's just not worth it. Mm. But I mostly marked this story for this amazing quote from the project manager, the project director, Mac Walters. He's saying, I had all these analogies early on to try to help people understand what this remaster is going to be about. He says, it's one thing to take a 1982 Porsche that needs to be fully restored. But now I want you to imagine that is actually buried in concrete. So you have to first chip away at all the concrete. And then every time you're going to do something, it's like, is this going to work? Do I blow the engine on turnover?
That's pretty good.
So the idea of it's like restoring a classic car that has been embedded in a block of concrete as an analogy for updating some of these old games. Because a lot of the cases updating these games is basically making the game again in a new engine, right?
Yeah. That was something Corey talked about when she was working on Baldur's Gate. She'd mentioned to me that it's this process of trying to understand how the engine works and making the engine work a certain way. Mm-hmm. And then, the changes that you're making to try to make an enhanced edition of the game to be understanding decisions that were made and then having to adopt and what changes do you make to an engine and how many changes can you make to an engine until the game actually won't run in that engine because everything's too different. It just sounds kind of stress inducing.
And when they have to basically not recreate the game from scratch, like they have all the assets, but they have to almost recreate the engine stuff. And sometimes, obviously, they don't even have the original things. But sometimes, but they can go back and look at the original code sometimes. And I love when they talk about weird quirks of the original engine. You can go back and look. It's like, why did it do it that way? And there was a reason. It wasn't just because the developers were dumb. There was a reason why I did it that way, and you have to do that again in your new version, otherwise it won't go right.
And these kind of things are fascinating too, right? Because the when you make a game like this, initially, right, they make 3 Mass Effects, and they're incredibly popular, and then a lot of time passes. Maybe not a lot of time passes, but 10 years pass or whatever, and it's like, we're going to make the Legendary Edition of this game, and we have to make it run on all modern hardware, and you have to do all these other things with it. And you're like, the process of updating it didn't make sense at the time when the games were made, like to basically stay on top of it and be like, let's make sure this game is playable year after year after year, let's make new patches, let's do it, because you wouldn't want to continue to patch the game. But at some point, by not having the game around anymore, the game becomes important enough from a revenue standpoint to say, hey, let's go and patch the hell out of this game to run in modern times, because we think people will come back and buy the whole thing so they can run it on a modern platform, run it on modern video cards, have better resolution, have better whatever else. Now the price calculus makes sense to us. It didn't make sense that entire time to pay someone for 10 years to basically continue to maintain it, right?
You wouldn't do that. But it's like remasters and remakes and things happen all the time, especially with something that was very popular.
Yeah.
Or if they're working on a new one, because isn't there supposed to be another Mass Effect that they're working on? Didn't they announce a thing where they announced the name?
I think so. Yeah.
I think so. For them, that's just additional marketing.
Yeah.
And they are redoing the graphics and stuff for this. Like, it's more than just updating it to make it run on new systems.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
But that's a whole thing to be like, why do you enhance something like this? Why do you make an HD version? I mean, obviously not an HD version, but you know what I mean. Like, you're doing all this work, you're doing it because the money makes sense, and it didn't make sense to do it for all those years initially, and through all the years between you stopping the whole series and then doing this again. But the money makes sense now. And it makes so much sense that you have to put a bunch of people on it so you can chip this car out of concrete.
But the calculus...
Well, no. The car coming out of the concrete was the multiplayer, wasn't it?
I think it was. I thought he meant the whole...
I think
I thought the whole point was why they weren't doing multiplayer, not why...
Well, I think the chipping the car out of concrete was the metaphor was basically about how you have to be very careful about how much effort you put into different aspects of it. But because the calculus for these remakes is pretty tight usually, right? It's like, if we spend more than X number of man hours on this thing, it's we're no longer making money on it. So
there's no value there.
It's like, we got to be pretty careful.
Ask Nintendo about that. They're very, very bullish on making remakes.
Business reasons are boring.
They're not boring to me.
No,
they're
so
interesting.
Boring. Oh, they will only bring back your favorite video games if you are worth money.
But
it's boring.
The company's designed to make money.
I know
all the companies
that,
are designed
but
that they have to make money.
It's so boring to listen to as a reason.
Yeah, it's not exciting. It's not romantic.
It's not like, oh, hey, we know fans are really a fan of the series, and so we brought it back because we all know and we're also fans. And I know that's not the thing for everything, but it's just
what
was all the business decisions? It's just kind of I don't.
World of Warcraft Classic, I think, is another really good example of that. There was no way they were bringing back Classic until finally they'd been like, okay, we're bringing back Classic. Because you keep bugging us about it and you keep wanting it, so there must be a fever among people to want to play this game.
Yeah, and that's I prefer that, because then it's at least we're paying attention to the fans and what they want, and not just looking at them as money machines.
But they didn't release it for free, did they?
Well, no.
No, they because you have to pay for it.
Well, because people worked on it.
And people need to get paid.
That sometimes doesn't work out too well either.
No.
Fans are sometimes dumb about what they want.
Yeah, funny that.
All right, chat. Let's see if you can do better than contestants on Jeopardy. Here we go. 2 questions that were recently on Jeopardy.
Put your answers in the chat.
Where they did not solve these questions.
Oh my, really?
In 2020, it was time to find some new horizons and build your own island paradise with this Nintendo Switch game. Answer in the form of a question.
Also, you might want to answer the whole subtitle, even though I'm sure they'd give it to you for the first part.
Yeah.
Very
Oh yeah, some of you.
Well done. Some of you got it. All right, here we go. Second question. Hey, trainers, take on gym leaders of the Galar region for your next big battle in this series that offers sword and shield.
It's just like,
Yeah, nobody got these right.
Were there other questions that they did get right?
Not maybe in the video game category, but these 2 they didn't.
No, in a category of like video game nonsense.
If you want a good laugh, go look for Jeopardy video game category supercuts on YouTube and watch how many people get those wrong. Because it's like trivia is trivia, and there's lots of hard stuff to understand, but for some reason there's a blind spot for so many people to think that video game stuff is not trivia.
Apparently,
Animal Crossing is Nintendo's second best-selling game on the Switch.
Yeah.
Apparently, people are spending way too much time, like, I don't know, researching other things for Jeopardy rather than playing video games. I don't know.
Yeah, top 5 exports for Bulgaria, and they're not, like, playing video games.
You should be playing video games for your breaks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, those were 2 recent questions that nobody could get on the show. Yeah. Cyberpunk 2077 news.
Oh, good.
What did they do now?
Remember last week we talked about how it's pretty cool that they have a new like official modding thing?
Yes.
It's still cool. Unfortunately, there are some security issues with it.
With the mod pack itself. Like the modding tools.
Yeah, with the modding with the modding tools, basically you can some mods that you can create a mod that accesses one of the DLL files that Cyberpunk 2077 uses that can then compromise your computer. So you could make a mod that thing, which is a shame.
Yeah, it
although
is, actually.
In some ways, I would in the doc I sometimes put little notes on things and I'm like, does this make is this turning Cyberpunk 2077 into just like an ARG? Like if you can get your computer hacked in real life when you play maybe that's just part of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely tell myself that when I get hacked next time. Because it's just part of some game I'm playing. I put down for a while. I forgot about.
It is very cyberpunk. So they've released a statement saying if you plan to use mods / custom saves on PCs, use caution. We have been made aware of vulnerability in external DLL files used for the game, which can be used to execute code on PCs. They are issuing a fix, obviously. So, by the way they became aware of the issue was a Reddit thread where they were talking about it, which apparently was only posted after CDPR had been informed about the issue for like a week. So they didn't really get on it like super fast, which is unfortunate.
Oh. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, what's next?
Ooh. So, okay, this is probably this illustrates my lack of knowledge of football.
Right.
But so EA is getting back into college football.
Right. They used to make a game called NCAA College Football.
Yeah.
Right. They're not going back to college and then taking up football.
Yes.
No.
Okay.
No. They are getting back into making a college football game, which their previous college football game is very well regarded. Unfortunately, they're doing so without the licenses for the player characters or with the cooperation of the NCAA.
Which means they can't actually use the names of the teams that belong to the NCAA, if I
or any of the character or any of the player names or likenesses.
Yep. Who are college students, by the way. Let's remember that they're all college students.
Now, there's a whole controversy about like player likenesses in video games because in the NCAA, players aren't allowed to be compensated for their play because of stupid reasons.
Yeah.
So there's a whole issue with that. But my question is, what makes a college football game a college football game if you don't have any of the college teams or players?
I know.
Is there a difference between college football and regular football that's not just the colleges?
All of your players are look 18, even if they are secretly 9,000.
So, I was going to say that what you do is you get fraternities to play each other. Like famous fraternities, like the frat boys from like Animal House or the frat boys from like Revenge of the Nerds. But how they're doing this is EA is working with the Collegiate Licensing Company, the CLC. This is nuts. They're using imagery and trademarks based on the contract with the CLC, so they can actually use the logos of the school. They can use imagery and trademarks that the schools have. But things that take place in the NCAA college football season, like the conference system, they can't use any of that. So they have to do their own. They have to do their own tournament structures. They have to do their own conference structures. Like they have to lay all that stuff out completely separately. And I imagine if it looks anything like what the NCAA has in real life, the NCAA will be like, like you can't do that. It's weird though. The great quote is EA says its deal with CLC makes it the quote exclusive developer of simulation college football video game experiences.
Right. That line simulation is important.
Yeah, because there's this the article is written on Ars Technica. The use of simulation there could be significant. Similar wording in EA's exclusive agreement with the NFL allowed Take-Two subsidiary 2K last year to announce the return of the NFL 2K series as a non-simulation title. Remember when we had arcade football games and like that kind of thing?
Oh, okay.
So there's this sense that they're creating a simulation of football within colleges and universities, within post-secondary institutions, and we can use the names of the institutions, and that's fine. But you're not going to be able to because it's this simulation thing. It's like, I think that be like, it's not real. We're not actually I'm not sure how their justification is happening here, but it is interesting to hear about what this is going to mean.
And it's like, will there be will the makeups of the teams be the same as they are in real life?
Yeah.
Right? Like, will the stats of the players on the teams be the stats of the players in real life? They just won't be using the likenesses and names. Like, the quarterback on X team, will that quarterback be have the stats and the skill equivalent in the game of the real quarterback, but just not his name and picture?
Yeah.
Or are they just going to make them up, whole cloth?
Are they gonna make it so because there's a lot of football games I've seen where they have a management simulation portion as well. Is there gonna be a portion to this game where I have to make sure that they're all making it to class on time, and that once they graduate, I get a new fresh one later?
Potentially, yeah, that could be functionality if you're not holding your grades. Then.
Basically, Persona, but it's football between classes rather than monster fighting.
Yeah, you're probably.
I feel like there's a niche there that could really be.
It works for Fire Emblem Three Houses.
There's definitely this sense of it's going to be like here's your quarterback, it's Dave Johnson, and they have these stats, and that person doesn't apply to anything. And it'll be a lot like we want to go back in time. Tecmo Bowl did not have licenses for the NFL, but for whatever reason they were using names for the NFLPA. So they had the players' names in the game, and they could use the names of the cities that the teams were in, but they couldn't actually use the colors or the names of the teams because they didn't have licensing from that. And there was also another NFL game that had NFL licensing but did not have NFLPA licensing, I think for Super Nintendo era. So you could have all the names of the teams, but you couldn't have any of the players.
Yeah, licensing's weird that way.
And of course, this has now come back to. I think this will be a hard sell for a lot of people. Like people who love college football are probably like, I get to roll Tide, like that, it's that kind of thing. I get to support my team, but if none of the players I love from this season are on this team in this game, is it going to have the same appeal, or are people just going to make NCAA player packs and distribute them for free on the web, and then people are going to download those and put them into the game? And it's like EA be like, hey, you can load in whatever teams you want. It's not up to us, right?
Yeah, it's because obviously there's so much money involved in these things. The licensing is very precise these days in terms of exactly what you get. You have to be very careful. It's like, oh yes, you could, but you have the license to the lower half of all the players' faces, but not the upper half. The upper half is a whole different deal.
So I thought you were going to say their bodies. I was just like, that's really weirdly.
The legs, right?
Only the player bodies. The faces is a lot more expensive.
Gotta paste heads on them.
From the waist up, they're just putties from like Power Rangers. Just these gray blob. That's what it was. Captain Spam mentions NHL Stanley Cup had the NHL, but not NHLPA, and NHLPA Hockey '93 had all the players, but didn't have the teams. And there was this weird schism in making NHL games back around that era. And it's like, why would you do that? And of course, people stopped doing that. They started getting both licenses so you could get the best simulation you possibly could. This is going to be weird. We'll see what happens.
Also, Dave said the game will not be this year. So, this is not a 2021 game.
That seems fair.
So,
I'm glad they're saying that. That's, announcing a game being like, don't worry, not this year.
And
at least.
Yeah, you could at least forgive like the far out announcements for a game like this because the deals with the various companies involved are public. So, they can't really hide it too much. So, but anyway, I think
it seemed like that was everything.
I mean, there was some funny stuff. The Google Stadia display that they used to show off. Here's what Stadia is going to be. Like, here's this thing.
What happened with that?
I still can't figure out what the reason was why they did it. Because it was basically. There's a Twitter link if Paul might be able to pull up the images or something like that, but it's like the standees that they had outside the Google I/O or wherever they were announcing Stadia or whatever were like, here's the Dreamcast, and here's E.T. for Atari, and here's the Power Glove.
Yeah. Like, not successful things that you want to be compared to.
And it's like, why did they do that? Why did they say, here are these things, and then here's Stadia? It's like, what was the reason? And that wasn't like somebody was trying to like thumb their nose at Stadia. It's like, this had a reason. This was like...
So it was apparently, in that Twitter thread, Frank Cifaldi, this was apparently tweeted out quite a while ago. But Frank Cifaldi, who is either the head or at least part of the one of the big video game archival projects, they were the ones who provided this stuff to Google, and apparently the brief for what they were trying to get like changed multiple times over the course of it, and there was like a bunch of conflicting information that when they were trying for a particular concept that changed like halfway through, and they ended up like combining the two concepts that they were going for together in a way that did not work. So basically, I guess they had an idea for what they wanted to do, and they asked the video game history people for particular to like suggest stuff, but they were very unclear as to why they wanted it and what message they wanted to convey with it, and that's apparently what they ended up with.
That's crazy. Huh.
Yeah.
So there's really no like good. I mean, there's been no. Frank didn't go into further details about like. Here's the first concept. Here's the second concept. Here's all the concepts. But then they ended up doing this. Like he just like kind of like waved his hands. He's like, this is essentially they had a bunch of different ideas, and then
they had at least two different concepts that they mashed together
into one that didn't work at all. And it's like, right. So what were the concepts, Frank? Can you please tell us? And he did not. So
I like this.
That's fine.
I like the rest of the thread. He is saying the text on the placards was draft text I barfed out quickly. I was like, this is just for context. Have your writers redo this. They printed it as is, typos and all.
There's a thing on the back on the glass pane that says anything you dream can be built, and I feel like there's supposed to be a comma that says something else, because it's just like, sure, you can build anything. That doesn't mean it's around forever.
Also, these three things are in the wrong order, right? If you're trying to go from oldest to newest, like with a timeline, but they have them in the wrong order. Like, it's impossible to figure out what they meant.
Although I like that he says, you know what? They paid great, and the money was crucial to helping Video Game History Org's Game Informer preservation project happen in May. So I'm super thankful for the opportunity, as bizarre as the final presentation ended up being.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was probably actually also kind of frustrating to have your scope change that many times, and then to be like, okay, I'm trying to do something and it ended up like this and I don't get what I did, but I got paid, so, which is great, but at the same time, like, that's got to be super frustrating.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember there's a famous thing of somebody asking Bob Hoskins about what he thought about the Super Mario movie. And he's like, I don't know, but I like the house that it bought for me.
Yeah. Yeah, Michael Caine said the same thing one time, didn't he? Or like Sean Connery, they're kind of like, oh, I don't like the movie, but I like the castle it bought, or whatever. It's like, yeah, everyone seems to have that same kind of
That was Michael Caine for Jaws the Revenge? Oh, no.
Yeah, that's right.
A apocryphal story. It was. I'm sure there was something about Bob Hoskins talking about being in Mario. There was a similar sentiment, anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's all the news that we decided to talk about.
It's all the news that there could be news.
I have nothing further. I normally jump into the end like, what about this? It's like, no, we're not.
I don't really have anything.
Yeah. I didn't see anything jump up and kind of bite us. There's lots of GameStop stuff going on. We did mention in the intro, the GameStop stock thing is still, there's going to be lots of fallout. There's apparently
that's going to go for a while.
A couple different stories have been optioned. People have done treatments of them, I'm sure, and have like sent them to whatever, and who knows if that's going to turn into anything, because those could never turn into anything. And it's like, this is just still. There's going to be fallout from this for a long, long time, and I don't think it's our wheelhouse anymore, unless it crashes the store GameStop.
Yeah,
like I don't think it's going to be anything that we have to report on anymore.
I mean, at that point, what we're reporting on is the death of GameStop, which is still up in the air. That could be a story sometime. That doesn't have to be because of this.
Yeah.
It's. I was trying to on Wednesday or Thursday when we were. Talking about CheckPoint stories, I was trying to figure out the an appropriate metaphor, and I was thinking it's something to do with like it's this GameStop stock thing is a video game story in the same way that like Cyberpunk 2077 is a story about plastic because Cyberpunk comes on CDs like or DVDs. Like GameStop is just the medium that happened to be the thing. It really has no relevance to the story,
to video game industry,
to the video game industry as a whole, or anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about what's coming up next. Because what's coming up next is Friday Night Paper Fight, where we're going to be doing some Kaldheim Commander, and we are going to be joined by special guest Kat, also known as Lady Lavinius. So she's going to be joining us cool. along with Nelson and Benjamin Wheeler and Ben Ulmer. So should be a super fun game of our first I think the not all the cards, but all the commanders are going to be Kaldheim commanders.
Okay.
And it's going to be Kaldheim themed commander, I think is the idea.
Paper tonight though, like it's
yes,
not arena.
I'm doing camp. Yeah. Commander is that how people refer to the overhead cameras?
I don't know.
Commander?
I don't know if they do, but maybe they should. That gets confusing because there's also Commander, which is when Cameron is involved.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Or when he's playing XCOM.
And then on Saturday, James is going to be continuing to escape from Tarkov. Maybe he'll get away. Probably not. From what I understand, it's very difficult to escape from Tarkov.
All right.
I don't know. Maybe Al Funko is working for the other team. Because
that's not going to help him too much, is it?
Maybe Al Funko is working for Tarkov? Is Tarkov a guy or it's a place? I'm assuming.
I thought it was a place, but I guess it could be a person or a dinosaur. Maybe it's a big dinosaur he has to run away from.
That would be scary if, like, at the end, you do all these you're doing all these like multiplayer battle arena things over and over and over again, and it's like, all right, finally, and it's just a big dinosaur at the end you have to fight. It's like, what? This makes no sense. What? That's Tarkov. And then on Saturday, actually, we've got something super fun. If you enjoyed the Coffee with Surge series of videos that we did over 6 weeks, just I guess the last one came out a couple weeks ago. It's a super neat series. It's all about Surge talking about his favorite thing, which is coffee. If you haven't seen them, I suggest you check it out. But if you have seen them, you can join Serge and Graham and Chris, who is the I guess director of photography and editor on the series. They're going to be doing a special kind of Q&A, talking about the show, and answering your questions and all that stuff. And
probably pitching the Coffee with Surge Keep Cup that we have up on the store. So if you're a fan of the series or you need something new to keep your coffee in, store.loadingreadyrun.com, you can get yourself a cool branded. Do you have it there, Paul?
I do have one. 1 sec.
Because I don't have one in my house, but I figured Paul might have one in his house. And I'm always up for giving another pitch to the store in the middle of what it is that we're doing. There we go.
Pretty.
It's double-walled glass. It's very high, quality. That's a cork band and a silicone lid on it. They're beautiful, really well made. I really quite like it. And they're a premium item, which is why they cost premium bucks on the store, but they're really nice.
Got a lid where you can like turn it and lock it, and so that it doesn't leak.
Yeah.
Which really is very important when you're talking about hot stuff.
Agreed.
And then on Sunday, it's Rhythm Cafe with more taiko drumming.
Yep.
Taiko Drum, the RPG.
Traveling around in time. We should not have the powers of time travel in that game. We are very irresponsible. As talking drums, running around, taking people out of time, we're very irresponsible.
Drums in time. And then on Monday, if you enjoyed the previous Alien campaign that we did, Heat Death, well, we've got a new Alien campaign. Also is going to be DM'd by Cameron, and I believe it has many of the same players, if not all the same players. Many of the same players.
There were some people switched out, but I don't remember now. It'll be a surprise for everyone.
It's a new story, new characters anyway. And it's going to be, I believe, a 6-episode session, 6-session stream. And it's going to be live. The first session on Monday is actually going to be a session 0, where they're going to be actually creating their characters and setting things up. So if you watched our vampire RPG session, then you might be familiar with. This will be a different, because it's a different campaign and different people and stuff. But that's the sort of idea with the session 0 is allows all the players to create their characters and sort of meet each other and do all that stuff, and establish the sort of parameters for, especially for games like Vampire and Alien. It's nice to establish the parameters for what the story is going to be about, because it can get pretty serious.
I look forward to somebody saying that they don't want to go to space.
Yeah, space is a hard limit for me.
I mean, after the last one, I wouldn't want to go to space either. So
yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
If I was in the world of Alien, I'd be like, I'm just going to stay inside. Yeah, I'm going to stay in here, and I don't want anybody to hurt me. And then on Monday, after Dice Friends, so this is a little later than we usually do our streams, but after Dice Friends, 8 o'clock, more Escape from Tarkov. The time is because El Funko is in Australia, so it's a better. The time works out better for him. But anyway, and then on Tuesday we're back to our usual 9 o'clock talking sim where they're doing Demon's Tilt.
All right.
Which is, I'm assuming, a sequel to Demon's Souls that people have previously not heard about. And then they're doing Resident Evil 4, which doesn't have the super tall lady in it, but it still is worthwhile. Still entertaining.
So super tall lady comes in Resident Evil 8, which means I'm guessing someone half right is in Resident Evil 4.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. That's how math works.
Let's welcome all people who subscribed, starting with Ella 806 for 86 months. How appropriate.
Raving Penguin for 67 months. Welcome.
Newt! Ash Burnham is back for 65 months.
Kung Fu Banana for 3 years.
That's just Corey's character. Angry Optimist for 49 months. Welcome back.
And welcome back to Surter77. It was a brand new sub. You gave money.
Yay!
We appreciate that. Thank you for subbing to the stream.
Dasanao for 3 years as well. Thank you very much.
Adam and Cheese. Adam and Cheese. 9 months. Got there. Figured it out. Thank you for those 9 months.
62 MG Cobra. Nice. 26 months. Welcome back.
Ecotech Knight for 52 months.
Gifted by Bob the Ninja Goldfish is Gondrith, Sleepy Neutrino, Kaze 10? Nope, that's an L. Kaziel 0, Trey Spire, and Tater Shaman. Ooh,
thank you, Bob.
Taters.
Has power over taters.
God, food, it does sound good. Elemental Alchemist returns for 65 months. Welcome back, Ella.
Prince Nimzar of the Nimzar people for 35 months.
Commander Rab for 69 months. Nice.
Great. Nightek. Oh. That's weird.
Night Echo?
Night Echo. Night-Echo. Night-Echo 06 for 45 months.
That's the echo of Echo Tech Night just arriving. Drew Bone is a new subscriber. Welcome.
The Passerby for 46 months. Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back to Neo of the Dark, has been here for 39 months, a multiple of 13. Welcome.
Non-unique guy for 11 months. Don't be so hard on yourself. I'm sure you're unique in your own
You're the
way.
only one with that username, you know?
Philemon, 45 months. Yeah. Philemon makes me think of cinnamon buns.
Mnemonicman for 34 months. That also makes me think of cinnamon buns. Cinnamon buns. Cinnamon buns.
Lunatic 93 for 53 months.
Gifted by the Meerkat, Marth0647. The most.
There are a lot of Marths. It's
Well,
Yeah.
that's why they say Marth is the boring one.
Thank God for the leading zero. Peachy Prieto has been here 43 months. Welcome back, Peachy.
UWD John for 25 months.
Friendly neighborhood GM, helping their players for 56 months.
It's always good
Casting some good roles.
if you've got a friendly neighborhood GM, you got to hold on to them.
Konda020946 has been here 38 months. Welcome back, Konda.
3 4/5 for 17 months.
Mm-hmm.
Getter 404 for 8 months. Welcome back.
JS1813 for 47 months. Welcome back.
Virtual Catastrophe for 10 months. It wasn't, luckily, that it wasn't a real catastrophe.
And gifted by 3 4/5, Commander Shepard. Nice.
The Rush 192 has been here 5 glorious months. Welcome back, The Rush.
Rainbow Wolf 13 for 9 months.
Also gifted by 3 4/5, Alex Trebek. Thank you for the gift.
Sigma Theta, gifted by 3 4/5. Welcome back.
Bob Hoskins, the Destroyer. Yes. That is his full name. Gifted by the Meerkat. Thank you.
PK Jester for 46 months. Welcome back.
And welcome back to Lady Dimitrescu.
Nice.
Showing up in every goddamn checkpoint we do. Thanks, Meerkat.
I'm glad she must have like a special extension thing on her monitor. It's probably she's got like a standing desk, but she sits at it.
Yeah.
She had to stand at the back of the class photo every single year.
She might just be watching on her phone, like.
Hanged Man for 49 months. Thank you.
Dromos GHG for 41 months. Welcome back.
And welcome back to Phenomenon. Phenomenon.
Nice.
Thank you, the Meerkat.
I'm glad you got that one. I saw it in chat and I was like, I hope it's you.
Just immediately.
Gap Filler for 16 months. Thank you very much.
And with the 1,000 bits, it's Sleepy Neutrino, Xanatos 69, Not Cain nor Abel, Pharaohbender 27, and Gap Filler.
It's a previously unknown type of neutrino. Previously, there was like left and right neutrinos, but now we have sleepy neutrinos.
Sleepy neutrinos, yeah. They're part of the charm ones, I guess. The alternate to that. I need to go get a gap filler, actually, later today. I'm going to make that part of my thing once we're done here.
You mean like a thing for filling gaps, not a person named Gap Filler?
I need to pick up some materials that will help me fill a gap.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Cool. I just want to check. I need to know if we have guests over.
Yeah, Gap Filler, don't be waiting for Beej to come around and pick you up.
The weird thing is that I don't need a Pharaoh Bender yet, but at some point I will.
Is that just not like a fifth Avatar thing?
Let's need some blinker fluid.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you. Friday Night Paper Fight will be on in about an hour and 15 minutes. But until then, we will talk to all y'all later. Bye.
Bye.